Hello everyone and welcome to another Star Wars figure review. Today we're going to take a look at another figure from the vintage collection, and this is by far one of my favourite Darth Vader figures. Obviously we see one hell of a lot of Darth Vader figures released time and time again by Hasbro, but now and again they do tend to do the odd Darth Vader that is different enough to drive you crazy and make you want to pick him up, and this is one of them. It's this guy, the Emperor's Wrath Darth Vader, which is a term that this one has been dubbed with. This is of course a Darth Vader figure based on the scene in Return of the Jedi in which Darth Vader picks up the Emperor and throws him down the shaft of the Death Star. Obviously you've got some superb lightning effects on there and some other details as well, which I'll touch base on in just a bit. Before I do, we are going to take a look at the packaging that this guy comes in. Now, there's a bit of interesting trivia with this card back, and I'll talk about that before I review the figure. But as you can see, this is the traditional vintage card back for this figure. Got a brand new image of Vader used on the card back, which is by far probably one of my favourites. And you've also got the Return of the Jedi logo at the top, and on the back the 12-back layout featuring other figures from the line. However, this particular figure is available in two sets of packaging. Now, first is obviously the traditional vintage card back, and the second is the Lost Line card, which I'm going to give you a look at in some future reviews. And I'm not going to touch base on it too much at this minute, because I'll talk about it in more detail in my next review. But if you're familiar with that, then you'll know that this figure is available on two card backs. The Lost Line is basically a alternative look for these figures, and it was first made available through the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Carbonite Freezing Chamber set of figures, which included one figure from each of the 6 Star Wars films. Again, I'll go into a lot more detail about it when I actually show you some of that packaging, because I don't have it for this figure, but it's quite a cool concept and something I'm looking forward to showing you. So that's the card back for this figure. Now on to the figure itself, and as I said, this guy is really cool. As far as I'm aware, he is a kit-bashed Darth Vader figure, in the sense that he uses recycled parts from existing figures. The body, for the most part, is the standard Darth Vader body that we've seen released in lines such as the Legacy Collection and earlier in the Vintage line. Obviously he's been given a few new parts. I'll talk about those in just a bit. In terms of accessories, he does come with his lightsaber, of course, which he'll need for his duel against Luke Skywalker. And he does come with the Force Lightning as well, which, as you can see, has engulfed Darth Vader at this point. The cloak and inner robes are soft goods, as you'd expect. And in terms of articulation, Darth Vader has a swivel neck, ball-hinged shoulders, elbows and swivel forearms. He has a swivel waist, swivel hips, ball-hinged knees and ball-hinged ankles. So, super articulated figure. Another one of the accessories that he comes with is indeed a removable glove. Now, this is sort of a removable glove crossed with a removable hand, as obviously Darth Vader loses his hand during his battle with Luke Skywalker in the film. So you can recreate that. The glove just pops off like so, and underneath you've got the severed circuits of Darth Vader's chopped off hand, and the stub there does actually, no, it doesn't actually, I thought it swiveled but it doesn't. The glove obviously just sits over the top of that stub there like so. Now, there are two pieces of lightning included with the figure. You've got this small piece which just hooks over the arm, and you've got this main bit which engulfs the body. One of the cool things about this figure is the fact that they did include a translucent helmet in which you can just make out Anakin Skywalker's skull underneath, obviously to replicate the scene in Return of the Jedi when Darth Vader is electrocuted by the Emperor's Force Lightning. And that's a really cool aspect that they decided to include there. In some ways this figure is an upgrade over the Power of the Jedi Emperor's Wrath Darth Vader, which included a plastic cape which had sort of translucent bits in it, and overall just made you think that Darth Vader really was getting electrocuted. But this is obviously the definitive version of Darth Vader in that form, and it's, as I said, one of my favourite Darth Vader figures, just because it brings something new to the table. You know, it's not something that we've seen time and time again. It's quite a unique looking figure, and you know, the translucent helmet there with the skull underneath is just chilling and really, really cool. I'm not sure how well it's showing up on camera, but if you get a good look at this thing in person, then it just looks absolutely phenomenal. So the camera doesn't really do it justice in this review. But he's a very, very cool figure, definitely one that I would recommend picking up. The lightning is of course removable, but I'm not going to do that now because it's quite tricky to take on and off. But definitely a figure that I'd recommend picking up, and perfect if you want to recreate the scene from Return of the Jedi. So there we go, that is Darth Vader. Nothing much more to say about the rest of the figure, as we all know what Darth Vader looks like by this point, and I'm sure we all have enough of Darth Vader in our collections. So I hope you enjoyed this review, guys. I will be back with some more very soon, and until next time, as always, keep collecting, and may the Force be with you.